Okay, Paul. How's the few days on the Gold Coast been?
Fox.
Yeah,
It's been really good, really good. It's a beautiful place. We're very lucky to be here. Royal Pines have been nothing but accommodating for us. So it's been like having a mini training camp in mid-season, which has been great. We've been together a lot, and yeah, just bringing the team, I guess, together and staying in Australia was really important to us after a run of results that have probably been not what we wanted. So we've managed to spend some time together, regroup, have plenty of conversations, and then get back out on the training pitch. So feeling good, ready to go for the game tomorrow.
yeah. Does being in Australia already and not having the international travel, will that solve the struggles on the road, or is that something you've been able to put your finger on? Could actually be having an impact?
Maybe if we win tonight, the club aren't going to be happy that I've got to stay in Australia between every game. It's going to cost a lot of money, but yeah, I don't know. Look, I think definitely the travel is a factor. It's hard. Like it's not just the 4 hour flight. It's the 3 hours before at the airport and waiting around and the international clearance and the customs, and it adds, like, it's a lot of travel time, like across the thing. So it definitely adds to it, but we have to do that, and that's what we are being Wellington. That's our situation, so we can't change it. I don't think it's the sole reason why we're not winning games on the road. And there's lots of things on the pitch that we could be doing better. And I think, if we'd have been putting away the chances we created and maybe not making a few errors that we've made, it's probably a totally different story in terms of results. Because I don't think the performances have been terrible, but definitely some things that we can improve on for sure and get better at, and especially around the game management. So we've talked about those things. So yeah, I think it's really helpful for the game tomorrow that we're obviously here and we don't have the big travel day leading into the game tomorrow. So yeah, I'm hoping that will make a positive difference for the team.
Yeah, and are you to just talk about the situation with Brianna Edwards? Understand she's not with the team at the moment.
Yeah, sure. There's a few players in the squads, Brianna being one of them, that we've given some time off to. She's obviously based in Sydney, family's in Sydney, and so being away from home is quite tough for a lot of these girls. So yeah, we've had some conversations with Brianna, who's been great, and open conversations. This is the sort of environment we want to be, is caring and empathetic for our players. And so for her, she just needed a little bit more time at home over this period. So we've granted her an extra week of leave. We've done a similar thing with Manaya, who's not here either, who we felt at 18 has kind of done a lot in the first 10 rounds, and we felt she was kind of in need of a bit of a break mentally and physically as well. So we gave Manaya a week off as well, back in Wellington. So yeah, it's just a case of managing the squad and managing everything that's going on, and appreciating everyone's got different dynamics. But yeah, Bree will still kind of be around, and yeah, we're expecting her to kind of come and support the team tomorrow, obviously being in Sydney. So we'll catch up with her more then as well.
But you are expecting that she will return to be part of the squad in Wellington at some stage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I guess with this game in particular, it's been a couple of high-profile mistakes from Riley Foster. Now that you're down to, I guess, her as sort of, you've got no option. I don't know whether that was something you were considering which goalkeeper you were going to start, but how much faith do you have in her? And yeah, how do you sort of put those mistakes past her to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Goalkeepers, that really tough position where if they make a mistake, it usually leads to something catastrophic, which is like the goal that you shouldn't concede. And so it's high stakes for goalkeepers, and you need to be mentally tough and mentally strong in that situation. And I think Riley's mentality is fantastic, and I think we've talked a lot about her character early on in the season and what she's been through and how tough mentally she is. And so these mistakes aren't going to affect Riley. She's been through a lot worse than making mistakes on a football pitch, and she's got perspective. We've had some good discussions this week about why those things are creeping in and what we can do to solve them. So yeah, hopefully it's just a little bit of a bump in the road for her as she kind of strives towards getting back her best form. But if you take out those errors, she's been really clean and she's been really good in terms of everything else she's done and looked very comfortable. She's obviously still making lots of good saves in games and stuff. So I don't think her form is like that bad. She just made 2 errors in the last sort of 3 or 4 games, which have ended up costing goals. But that's the life of a goalkeeper. Obviously, she doesn't want to make those mistakes. We don't want her to make those mistakes. The team doesn't want them to make those mistakes. But it's part of football, and you have to find a way beyond it and move on quickly. And she's very good at doing that.
Yeah, because how had Bree found being the number 2? Like, I guess she started last season as the number 2, and it was Lily got injured, and she took her chance. And then for this season, I guess she decided to bring in an import goalkeeper. Yeah, has that been hard on her, just sort of going back to being the number 2 again?
Well, I think Bree's probably the best person to ask that question to in terms of how she feels. So I can't really talk too much about that. But what I can say is that she's been incredible in the environment, Bree. Just professionalism that she shows, and how hard she's been kind of working away, pushing Riley. And then when she's come in for the 2 games that she's played this season, she's been fantastic, you know. And that was kind of what I talked about at the start. The biggest advantage is having 2 keepers that are capable of being number 1, and you know, I think we've got the best goalkeeping department in the league when you consider those 2. There's not many teams that have, in Bree's case at the moment, being a number 2, like a backup like that. Like she's been fantastic and really good to deal with, really easy, very professional. So yeah, she's dealt with the situation brilliantly, and yeah, I think deserves a lot of credit for that. But I can't really sort of give you any too much insight into her feelings because yeah, obviously those are hers and she can speak for herself.
Yeah. Do you have a second goalkeeper with you in Australia?
So Amy Daniele is flying out today and will meet us in Sydney, and then she'll be substitute keeper for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say I just saw her at NZCIS, so I wasn't sure if you had backup or not. Yeah, so in like the review of sort of what's been going on or going wrong in the last few weeks, and particularly on the road. Yeah, like what do you is there sort of a key thing that you think has been like the main thing that you can sort of fix? Obviously, yeah, like you've been able to remove the barrier of the international travel this week, but yeah, like yeah, what is it? And as a coach, like has it been quite like a frustrating time, sort of been like, why are we sort of struggling, whenever we seem to play away?
Yeah, it's been hugely frustrating. The performances in the 3 losses, like on the road recently, have all kind of been a little bit different. But most definitely, from a coaching point of view, I think we did enough in the first half in Adelaide to win the game and be comfortably ahead at half time. We didn't take the chances, and then Sydney was a tough game as you'd expect away against the champions, but we competed very well. And then particularly in the second half, we started to kind of create more, dominate, and in the last 10 minutes probably could have got a goal, and we had a huge chance to equalise. And then obviously the other night it was a similar story as Adelaide. Really, the first half was very strong. I thought Silkowitz made 2 or 3 saves, which a number of keepers probably couldn't have made in the league. So it could have been different. Then we have the sort of handball thing that could have changed the picture for us late on in the game as well. So it feels like a few things have just gone against us in terms of that luck that you need, put away chances when they're important to put them away. But I also think there's an element of mentality from our perspective. You know, you've got to remember we're learning to be winners, and we're learning what it takes to win week in, week out. And this season is about an evolution of us trying to be a team that can compete at the top end of the table. And it's difficult to do that in a short space of time. So when we have these experiences like we've been having away from home, we've got to learn about maybe state of the game and management of the game, how we control things better, and rather than necessarily be able to dominate the ball like we have been in parts, we have to be able to be good without the ball and kind of, I guess, do what's required of us at that point in time. And there's some things that we can tidy up in that game management side of things that I think are going to help us a lot. So yeah, things we've identified, and I think it's a culmination of all those things together will help us get better results on the road.
Yeah, this game was originally going to be played at home. Given the struggles on the road, do you sort of wish that the Unite round wasn't a thing, and you were able to come back to Wellington to play this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I would much rather be playing home games. There's been a lot made of Unite Round as a concept, and I think generally speaking, it is a great concept, and I think it's good that we can kind of highlight the A-Leagues like in a round like this. But the reality is, it sucks for us because we've got to give up a home game and come and play it in Sydney. So yeah, that's there's a few teams the same as us that have had to give up home games to come, so it's not ideal for those teams across the men's and women's who lose a home game. But we can't affect those things, like those as a team. We just have to play what's in front of us, and yeah, reducing the travel this week is part of making it feel, I guess, a bit more like a home game. So yeah, for us, we'll treat it like a home game, like we're the home team, and approach it like it's our home game, and hopefully we can keep winning at home.
Yeah, and so Kate Taylor missed the last game with a foot injury. Emma Main was sick. How have those two held up? And is there anyone aside from Brianna, Manaya, and Isabel Cox that is unavailable?
No, so Kate should be available. She's recovered quite well, and I think the rest was really important. Otherwise, we'd still be sort of managing that niggle. But it's settled really well. She trained fully yesterday, and will train this morning. So I think she's good and would be available for selection. Emma's definitely come right after a few weeks of illness, which has kind of knocked her back a bit. So she'll be available for minutes as well tomorrow. So yeah, we've got one more session this morning, and then we'll make some decisions about starting 11 and the squad for the game tomorrow.
Yep, no, all good. So can I just clarify? So Manaya was one that the team had sort of given her that you'd told her to take a bit of a break or encouraged her to, but Brianna was more requested. Is there sort of a slight difference between the two?
Yeah, I guess there's a slight difference. I mean, the team don't decide; I decide. So it's kind of one of those things. Like the thing with Brianna is like that's been a conversation, open conversation between Brianna and myself and other staff members, and so we've been working with her on that one. Manaya didn't initiate the week away, but again, we sort of came and spoke to her and said, "This is what we're feeling, and these are your numbers." And we have to remember as well, she's kind of gone from the academy where she pretty much was February all the way through until now, really, without having a break, and throwing a World Cup in there last year too. So we kind of thought that it was best at this point in time that she could spend a week, off. And it's good to do it now because parents are on holiday and kind of not at work, and they can spend some time as a family. So yeah, they're kind of the same, but come around in slightly different ways, I guess.